Hey guys, good morning. Today's devotion is Proverbs 8, and it's again a chapter on wisdom. I think chapter 4 is about wisdom, and it keeps alternating between wisdom and something else. So, today, uh, if we have to divide the chapter into like sections, there are like three sections in chapter 8. Verse from verses 1 to 21, we can name it the call of wisdom. And in this whole chapter, wisdom is personified, and she's like in Proverbs, wisdom is called as she. It has been given a female pronoun. So she calls out to people, and she calls out saying, hey, listen to me. And we can see that happening again and again, like more than what it has to say, it keeps saying, listen to me, look for me, search for me, find me. And and that's quite, I find it quite interesting, because there are two aspects involved in this. One is what are the benefits of having wisdom, and the second part is obedience, in a way of obeying to what wisdom has to say, like, hey, listen to me, and if you listen to me, all this is my characteristics, and this is what you will benefit from having me in your life. So that's like a gist of what this chapter is about. But again, going back to dividing the chapter into categories, there are like three. From verse 1 to 21, it's call of wisdom. Verse 22 to 31 is like a hymn where it speaks about the origin of wisdom. And the last verse 32 to 36 can be categorized as a man who has wisdom, like a description of a man who has wisdom. So let me give uh, my understanding or my interpretation of what I understood from this. So, like again and again in this like last seven chapters, we read like wisdom calls out again and again, hey, I'm standing at the end of the street, I'm standing at the, like, do not go into the house of adulteress, but listen to me. And again the same thing's happening here. It starts with, does wisdom not call out, does not understanding raise her voice. On the heights along the way where the paths meet, she takes a stand besides the gates leading into the city. At the entrances she cries out loud. And yeah, that's how it starts. It's prefacing itself by, hey, I am. It's quite important even before you enter into a city. That's where everything happens. That's where wisdom cries out to everyone, saying, hey, listen to me, and call out and search for me. This is, and if you have been reading Proverbs from the beginning, you can kind of sense this is written for a younger generation, like, because most of the verses starts with, hey, so my son, listen to me, ask, search, in your young age don't do this, in your young age do that. And I found it interesting because in right now in world, wisdom seems to come from people who are old or elders of the society. That's how, like, people who are wise are generally considered to be the people who have experience, who have gone through things in life. But it's never attributed to someone who is young. But in Proverbs, it's quite contradictory to that, the way it says, like, call out, search for me, then you will find me. Like, it's the whole of Proverbs, or at least the wherever it talks about wisdom, talks about young people searching for wisdom and finding it. And even in James chapter 1 verse 5, Paul, like, it right, not Paul, actually it's James, if any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. So this is contradictory to what the general belief of the world is, isn't it? Like, we, even when we are young, we can find wisdom. So the first half, up to at least like verse 12 in chapter 8, talks about wisdom crying out and saying, hey, I find verse 9 quite interesting, because to the discerning, all of them are right. They are faultless to those who have knowledge. It talks about wisdom, talks about my words, like whatever come, that whoever acts out of wisdom, acts from wisdom, are generally right. and the discerning will find them right. Not everybody will find them right, but the discerning will find them right. And people who have knowledge will find them faultless. And this, and like few verses before, it calls out, it's saying, who you who are simple gain wisdom, sorry, gain prudence, who you are foolish gain understanding. So this is quite in the face in a way, like it's quite like nobody will call anyone fool, or at least foolish these days. It's considered, uh, what's the right word, you can't say it, it's like politically correct way of saying it. You can't call anyone foolish, but in a way it's saying like if you lack wisdom, gain, like do it, like find it, find prudence. If you're foolish, search for, gain understanding. It is, I the way I link it is because like if you don't have understanding or if you don't have prudence, a thing that's done out of wisdom might seem like it's the wrong thing to you. That's what verse 9 says again. It says like to the discerning all of them are right, because for to a person who cannot discern it, he will think something that's done out of wisdom or done with, or something planned and done with the future in mind will seem like it doesn't make sense in the present. One of the best examples that I can give is, mm, like doing things with future in mind, like working out, like eating healthy every day. If you do it every single day, it doesn't, it, you don't notice a difference drastically in like a day or a week. But if you keep at it regularly over months and months and months, you will reap the benefits at the end. But one of the most hard things to do is, because we don't see the result, we are like, hey, I don't see any difference, so I'm not going to keep doing it. And it's not like a perfect analogy, but the way I find it is, hey, mm, if you, to the people who have knowledge, this will look right, and people who do not, they might find it lacking in a way. So and chapter 12 to 14 is quite interesting to me, and it comes, it's literally says, me wisdom, I come with prudence, knowledge, and discretion. And so it's like a collective thing that we need in life to be successful or to live a good life. And then in chapter 18 it talks about, with me are riches and honor, enduring wealth and prosperity. Yeah, so in a way wise people can have everything, if that's the right way to say it. But yeah, but at the same time it talks about, sorry, I don't know where the verse is, but I read in this chapter somewhere, if even if you don't have anything, like search wisdom more than gold, and go after wisdom more than silver. So which means like, if even if you don't have wealth, look for wisdom, because that will give you what you need. And then going on to the second chapter or category of this chapter is origin of wisdom, verses 22 to 31. If you guys can read it, it sounds literally like a poem or a hymn. In a way it talks about how origin, like even during the creation, wisdom was there. Wisdom personifies itself to be a character during creation, talking about how God created the earth from scratch, and it was there at that time, and it was delighted to see. It says that it's not that God used with, like as in like wisdom helped God, but in wisdom God created the world. So it personifies itself, observes itself from a different vantage point, and talks about, hey, I was there when the world was created, and in its perfection God created it, and I was delighted to be a part of it. It says that I was a craftsman. Sorry, verse 20, 21. Sorry, verse 30. Then I was the craftsman at his side. I was filled with delight all day after day, rejoicing always in his presence. So yeah, it's quite interesting to see how wisdom was there from the beginning of eternity. And at the last part is verse 32 to 36. it talks about, it's a small thing about a man with wisdom. If you have wisdom, so I let me read verse 34. Blessed is the man who listens to me, watching daily at my doors, waiting at my doorway. For whoever finds me finds life and receives favor from the Lord. So isn't that all what we want in life, like to find favor from the Lord? Yeah. So one thing I noticed is watching daily at my doors. In one of the previous chapters, Solomon writes about, do not go to the door of the adulteress. Like it's, I don't know. I find it interesting that door, in a way, is like uh, given importance, like waiting at the door or going to the door of adulteress. And here it says about, instead of going there, wait at my door, wait at wisdom's door, and seek me, then you will find me. So yeah, it's a really interesting chapter to me, because especially because of the middle pa- portion where it talks about wisdom being there during creation. That I found it quite interesting. And again, I want to read James 1:5, where if any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. And especially the part where James talks about who gives generously without finding fault. So if we ask God, He will give us wisdom, and it doesn't necessarily have to come through experiences from life, but God will give His wisdom to us, which is the one, like which is the perfect one that we can get. Have a great day, guys.